Hey everybody, this is Cristian Portilla. This is Rican,
Hey,
DJ Big Reeks.
what's up?
Tonight we're recording a new episode of Meet Them Mondays. Make sure to stay tuned for the audio later on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on SoundCloud, Mixcloud, YouTube, and thank you so much for tuning in. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Should I look this way?
No, you can look at me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Can you count me down? Give me like a 3, 2, 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I can.
Ready?
Ready. Peace world, welcome to Meet Them Mondays, a show about the wins and losses on the road to success. I'm your host, Cristian Portilla, and tonight I'm in the studio with Rican McGusty, aka DJ Big Reeks.
Hey,
What up, Big Reeks?
what's up, man?
Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
It only took you, 2 minutes to get here.
You know what? I'm so used to driving because I live out of the city, so nothing is far from me. Everything is at least 30 minutes away. Work is always 30 minutes away, so an hour away. I mean, if I'm going to the airport, that's about the same drive to here. So
Yeah. So on a life update for my listeners, if they don't know yet, I actually moved to Houston from Miami. So that is true. Everything is a commute out here. It's not Miami, like 15 minutes away.
right.
I read that you guys' average commute time is like 35 minutes, like
Yes.
35 to like 40 minutes.
Definitely.
But thank God for cars.
Right.
So tell us about your weekend, because I saw you were all over the place doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, let me think. What was I even doing? So Friday I'm at Trez Art and Wine Bar, normally from 8 to 12. Before that, University of Houston men's basketball, they're in the national tournament, NCAA tournament. So they played their first game, and U of H hosted a watch party in front of the George R. Brown Convention Center downtown, and right in front of Discovery Green. So they employed me to DJ pre-game and then into the game and then a little bit afterwards. So I did that, and then I went to work. So yeah, it was a full day. I got there at 3 and I got home about 1 a.m.
That's crazy.
And then Saturday we did a day party concert type of deal with Ro James and 7th Streeter, Susan Carroll, myself, and then I got a DJ from Miami named DiBiase. He's actually Big Crit's DJ, if you're familiar with Big Crit. So yeah, we had an event / slight mini performance on Saturday. Then I had a little Saturday night gig. I got home around midnight or so. Then Sunday brunch until
You
about.
don't stop.
No.
How do you have all this energy?
I don't. I do not have the energy at all. Like it is. I mean, work is work, but so on today, tomorrow, Wednesday, I'll be at home. I'll be updating my website. Working on. I've been working on my clothing line. I've been working on, just scheduling for the second quarter. All that kind of stuff. But I'm not DJing. Oh well, I forgot. Tomorrow I do DJ. But
He's so busy, he don't.
yeah, man. Tuesdays are new for me, so I keep forgetting that I DJ on Tuesdays.
You know what though? One of the things, how I had told you when I first reached out to you that I started looking you up when I had just gotten here from Miami, which is now like a month-ish ago.
Right.
And I noticed that you were like really active in your community. So not only do you DJ and you have you host these events and stuff like that, but I also noticed that community is also big for you. And so before COVID, so pre-COVID, I noticed that you were doing reading events and career day and stuff like that. So what is it about the community that inspires you? Because that's a really big pillar, a value system for me is community.
Right. Well, I think for the most part, growing up and not seeing a whole lot of examples of males that were older giving me a path. So simply put, I figured out my path kind of on my own, what I wanted to be graduated college, went to work for 10 years, in so many words that didn't work out, then started this entrepreneurial journey. But I didn't know what an entrepreneur was until, I don't know, mid-20s, early 30s, until I started figuring out exactly what that really meant. So it's important to me to talk to kids, to exemplify my life, via social media, Twitter, as much as I can, so that younger or even peers can see what I'm doing and be like, oh man, how'd you do that? Please ask me, how. I will encourage you to get out there and follow your dreams and show you how, because we only thought, okay, you could be a doctor, a lawyer, a firefighter, a teacher.
I think that's the mentality too of immigrant parents.
Right.
They want us to be
sure.
these careers that we're for sure gonna have once we get out of school.
Oh man, and I had no idea. I had no idea I could be a full-time DJ / entertainer in Houston. I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think that would even be, let me see, how old was I? Maybe 25 when a guy I was interning with, I guess, had just had a DJ who left being a full-time engineer because he figured out he could make more money DJing. And he asked me, instead of being an engineer. And he had asked me, he said, hey, do you think you'll be an engineer your whole life? I said, yeah. He's like, oh, because, we just had a DJ who left us he moved to LA to be a full-time DJ. He's like, I don't want that to happen, with you. And I was like, no, that wasn't even on my radar. I wasn't even thinking that, at all. And I was like, oh no. I said, I want to be an engineer. That's what I'm going to be. I've taken all these math classes and studied all this structural engineering stuff. This is what I'm going to do. And, lo and behold, 10 years later, even less than that, I was laid off, and then I never went back to work.
But set me up though real quick, because obviously you had to have the skill set, you had to have the equipment, you had to have some sort of foundation to even go into DJing. So,
DJ equipment.
Yeah, because that's the thing too with creatives. How do you,
right.
You know what I mean? You also had to sort of set yourself up in your real life aside from your career to go into DJing. So
right.
How did you even have the equipment when you started to think I'm gonna DJ? What was that path like for you?
Oh well, I always had it. I always kept speakers. I always had stuff. I'm an electronics guru, geek, so.
You're self-taught?
Yeah. I sat in my claim to fame, I guess, is sitting in my room for 2-3 summers and just learning how to DJ on vinyl.
On your own?
Yeah, on my own. Nobody, I didn't know any DJs, had no DJ friends. I would go to the library and try to find books on DJing.
So did you just wake up one day and you were like, I'm just gonna give this a try?
No. I've always loved music. I was always fascinated with wax, fascinated with vinyl and the way it worked. Turntables, the way it looked, the way people looked at the DJ. You know what I mean? I thought that was cool. But yeah, 14, 15, my cousin had some turntables. He never let me touch them. I could just watch him.
Okay.
And I was like, man, one day I'm going to buy some, and I'm going to do that. The way he was just manipulating the records. It wasn't until I was about 20, my brother had a friend who had became somewhat of a DJ. He was dating a radio host here at a local station. He had some turntables he wanted to sell. And I was like, man, let me buy them, please. I was like, I can give you half now and half later. So I bought them from him. His girlfriend had given me a box of records too. And she's like, here, all of this for, I think paid $700.
Oh.
So I bought all of it and just put it in my room, set it up, and then I just started, taking doubles and trying to figure out how to manipulate the records, how I would hear on the radio. But I just had to go off of what I heard. I didn't have anything to really listen to. At that time, I really didn't even have any mixtapes or anything. was listening to what I could hear in my head and just try to make those same noises with, you know, or which would be scratches, you know, with my hands. So I spent a few years just learning to do that, and then we would throw parties at the house.
I was just gonna bring that up.
Yeah.
You like took the idea from
Right,
me because
yeah.
I feel like in Latino households or Caribbean households,
Right.
your family's from Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's kind of like our introduction to music,
Right.
to the DJ, to the playlist, to, you know, Christmas parties or
Right.
birthdays or these celebrations. At least for me growing up,
Mm-hmm.
like that's, you know, I had to learn to dance for these events. You
Right.
know, I remember my mom teaching me how to dance with the chair and putting on salsa, waking up to salsa on the weekends. You know, Mark Anthony blasting or whomever, Juan Gabriel. You know, all of these people. And the parties were really kind of like what introduced you to music, and
Right.
whoever was playing the music was really setting the vibe for the night, and it was always through family parties, you know? Like, did you have those memories?
Oh yeah, it was my dad. My dad was playing music a lot of times. He loved like American R&B, so you know, Isaac Hayes, Al Green. Of course, we had Bob Marley. We listened to a lot of soca and reggae as well, but he would be the one playing. I can remember just late night, kind of just opening the door, just kind of peeking, you know, hearing the music and just, you know, wanting to go out and dance in front of everybody. Man, speaking of, you know, dancing, my dad actually taught me to dance the same way because I was like, I have no rhythm. I'm like, how am I gonna? You know, I still have no rhythm, but you know, I was like, man, I'm going to these parties, and I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. Like, I get cold feet.
Knowing how to dance.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
it is. It
like,
really is. Yeah.
You know.
But he, you know, one day we're just sitting there in the living room. He's like, all right, let me show you. This is what you do. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, even if you have like some sort of rhythm or something, like
Right.
I always tell myself, you know, the day that I have my family, like I'm gonna be that mom cleaning the house with like one baby over here and the fabuloso.
Fabulous.
You know, just because that's what it is. Like you equate to like those happy memories or cleaning or family time or whatever with music. And so we always talk about like the losses and the wins to the road to success. So can you tell me a story about how maybe like it took you some time to let go of this engineering job? I'm sure you were making good, you know, steady money, and that moment, you know, where you were like, I'm ready to let this go. And actually they let you go from what you told me.
Yeah, they let me go. I'll never forget that weekend. My boss was like, hey, let me talk to you on Monday. And I called him twice. I was like, hey man, I got time to talk now. He's like, no, Monday. And you know, he had like a tear in his eye when he was like, hey, I gotta let you go. And I was like, you know, man. And they had somebody come in and like escort me out. I was like, bro, I'm not gonna like flip or anything. Like, it's all good. Like, I'm just, you know, I lost my job like anybody, you know. So I went home and, you know, they gave me a good amount of money, and I wasn't worried. I actually chilled for a while.
Why did they let you go?
They just said downsizing, but I think it was downsizing. I also think it was just, I think that they felt I was focused on some other things, which, you know, music and...
In retrospect, you were?
Yeah. Later on, I was told that someone had mentioned that, you know, Rican had too many women and too much music in his life. And I was like, I'll never forget that. I was like...
Would you agree or disagree?
No, I mean, you never know. In corporate America, you can never tell what's acceptable and what's not to them. You know what I mean? So they may be thinking one thing, and for us, you know, as a Black American, as a child of immigrants, you know,
it's just a different story.
what are we supposed to really be doing? Like, how am I really supposed to be acting? Like, I was buying clothes and trying to talk like them, trying to eat like them. I was doing everything I could.
What were you eating?
I don't know, charro beans and, you know, right.
Listen, we're gonna get into that.
Look, man. I mean, yeah, I would bring my lunch, right, and.
I was joking.
And I know because I'm dead serious. I would bring my lunch so I could just eat and get back to work. And they're like, "Oh, come with us." You know, they want to go to whatever little spot, and they would eat so much and then go back to work. And I'm like, "How do y'all even do this?" But I just mentioned charro beans because I just, all those white dudes. So in Texas, there's refried beans and charro beans.
Oh.
I don't know. These guys love charro beans for some reason, and I don't like them. But
it's
they would
but
they would all order it, and I'd like, all right, I guess I'll try it. I'm like, why do y'all like this?
So hold on a sec. So let's talk about because now So how do you identify? Like, what was your upbringing? Your family's from Guyana.
Right.
You were born in West Palm Beach. You
Right.
went to Miami. Somehow
Right.
ended up in Houston. So
Right.
you just have like a big mix of a bunch of stuff. So
Yeah.
how would you identify? Do you identify as Afro-Latino? Do you identify as Black American? Like.
No, I did identify as Black American. Although, I was called Mexican for the most of my life because my dad spoke Spanish. So, nobody knew anything different. They're like South American, Guyanese. What is that? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Yeah, you're Black or Mexican. So
you're in Houston.
Yeah, in Houston.
Okay.
Yeah, so
because in Miami it's a different.
Oh
story.
yeah, no. This is in Houston. Houston is very. Oh man, you'll see
Yeah.
how it is, but
Stay tuned.
yeah, but it's just and again, not far from here, maybe 15 minutes down the road is where I grew up, and yeah, it was just in Galena Park. That's how it was. It was like white, Black, Mexican. That's basically what you could be. So, my friends would come to the house. They see my dad there. He's speaking Spanish. We're eating different foods, and they're like, Reeks is Mexican. If I grow my hair out, I guess I look more Mexican. I don't know, but I would explain to them. I'm like, hey, we're from South America.
Right next to Venezuela.
Yeah, Brazil, Colombia. Everything is all right there in South America, but they didn't know. I would have to show them on a map, where it is, but we were young, so it was okay. It didn't bother me. But I hung out with mostly Black Americans, and then I was confused for a while, and then my dad would tell me, he's like, hey, just say you're Black. You're a Black American, because when you're in the street, that's all that matters.
Copy.
Right, so.
Well, I remember when we first met, we started talking a little bit about your experience, and I remember you telling me that you sort of had to like learn your Black culture. Like, you had to learn to understand your Blackness because it wasn't like that apparent to you in the beginning, Right,
definitely. Yeah, just having my dad is a very versatile guy. He hung out with the Asian community, Hispanic community. He had his white friends, he had his Black friends. He had everything, all kinds of people in and out of the house. So everybody looked the same to me. Of course, different cultures, but we dug into those cultures. We visited museums a lot. We ate different foods a lot. So he was real well versed in giving us that experience and making sure that we got to know that, hey, all people are different, but we're really all the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he was really good at that. I appreciate him for that.
And so you just ended up in Houston through him for like work, or for him?
Oh,
for work,
yeah,
or?
he came here for work. Yeah.
Okay.
This was like, I guess, early 80s, is when he started working some of his main jobs for his career. I think it started in Florida, and then he ended up here, and he traveled a lot for work. So I remember when we were young, he would spend 6-8 months in Brazil at a time working. So yeah, he traveled, was very well traveled.
Okay.
Still does travel a lot. But yeah, he would bring all that home to us and encourage us to do the same, So that's probably why a lot of what I want involves me being able to move around. I'm not really that interested in having like a really crazy home here right now until I have a family. You know, when I have a family, yeah, but right now, like, I just need enough for me so that I can just leave and go do what I want when I'm ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I get married or whatever, settle down, then we can do all that. But until then, I'll still be in my little, you know.
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. I think too, as like creatives, and I mean, I just feel like as people of the world, you just kind of sometimes like your spirit just has more, like it just wants to be more free. And I'm not opposed to like settling down or getting married or having a family either, but I think I still need to like cultivate that sense of like freedom to travel, to get inspired with or without my partner, just because that also feeds into my creativity.
Right.
But absolutely. So we were talking about you getting let go of that job and transitioning to DJing. And so like let's talk about the first gig and when this became something real for you.
So really what happened is you know, after those house parties, and I moved into this club and started doing big events, and I left U of H, transferred to Prairie View A&M, got my degree, and I was like, all right, this is it, I'm done. I'm like, man, oh my God, I'm making $50,000 a year now. Like, I don't need anything. Yeah. But man, I was dating this Spanish girl, and you know, she's talking about getting married and all this stuff, and we would just we would have these really kind of expensive dates, and I was like, man, I need to. She didn't have a job at the time, and you know, it didn't mean anything to me. But I was like, you know, if I'm gonna provide, like if I'm gonna be this guy, I need to make some more money, because like I don't think I could live off $50 grand a year. Yeah, and this was like in 08, you know, 07, 08. So I was like, let me go back to, you know, making a few extra, you know, dollars on the side, DJing. Of course, she didn't like it. You know, she was not happy that she would be losing like Saturdays, you know. But, you know, that's what really, I stopped DJing for a little while. I started back in the clubs, and then I landed this gig at this spot called Fox Hollow on Sundays. And that's what really kind of launched everything. And that was like, what, 2010, 11, something like that. And that's what really was the stepping stone for the next part of my career, because since then I've been consistently DJing. So I built this Sunday that we did for like 7 years. Then I did a Sunday brunch that I would do before that Sunday night. Man, I used to DJ probably like 18 hours on Sundays. Like, it used to be like insane.
Were you happy though?
I mean, I was probably too drunk to even know what I was. I mean, but I was making a lot of money. I was happy, yeah. I was happy, but I was tired, you know, and going to work the next morning, you know, maybe this is why these guys were like, you know, maybe this is not the right fit for him or whatever. I wouldn't be like, you know, late to work or anything, but I don't know, maybe my concentration wasn't always where they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
But, you know, so eventually in 2013 is when they let me go. And, you know, I had just created Waxaholics in 2012 and started Thursdays. We were like barely in our 1 year anniversary, and things were going really well. I wasn't really making that much money at the time. I was kind of just paying people just to make sure we had a good time, and I wasn't really making any money. But I was just doing it to just make something, you know, that was mine. You know, I wanted to have my own name, my own brand, something that I could represent Houston with, because that was really important to me, that I built something in Houston that was a Houston staple, that people can know when they get here, this is mine. Waxaholics Thursdays, you know, people know what that is.
Well,
you know?
You secured that because as an outsider, like coming from Miami, I found you. So I think that you've done a pretty good job of like branding yourself as like Houston's DJ.
Yeah, I really try and still am, you know, trying to maintain myself as a DJ, you know, somebody that people will look for, you know. So yeah, but yeah, when I lost my job, I probably spent about 6 months looking, and then I had this talk with my dad, and he said, "Well, man," he's like, "You DJ like what 3-4 times a week?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You could probably do more if you wanted." I was like, "Yeah, I could." He's like, "Why you don't just do that?" And I was surprised, to hear him say that. I was like, I guess I think I just needed that confirmation from him, that would be okay, like, hey, it's all right, for you to just kind of follow your dreams, not even knowing that really this was my dream, but it took me some years, but like, understanding now, like, the hard work and how much harder I will work to maintain my brand and my company now than maybe I would for, my engineering job. So
yeah, because it's yours.
Right.
It's funny because I had it like the same thing with my mom. I remember when I was like in college, I got to a point where I was like, what am I gonna do? Because you have to pick, and I always got awards for like writing stories or writing essays. I even had a poem that I wrote in 5th grade chosen for a book, like to be published in a book. And English is my second language,
right.
And so, but I just always had like an affinity for words. I felt like even if my accent wasn't perfect or whatever, it was just easier for me. And my mom, she was the one that was like, "Why don't you go into journalism?"
Right.
And I was like, "Oh shit, like maybe I should look into that."
Right.
And it wasn't a career like being an accountant or being a nurse.
Right.
But I also like that confirmation, and even just like in being the person that I am, just that always helps. And my mom was always like the person, and has always been the person to believe in me no matter what. Like, she's believed in me so much that I had no other choice but to believe in myself, because she just goes so hard for me, And so I think that I've taken that from her, like as a parent, one day in the future, I would really want to be able to do that, because that has to be difficult to like see your child be creative in one way or another, and kind of like want to encourage them to go after that dream, but also to keep their feet on the ground enough to know, like, when time is up.
Right.
But I've never felt that from her, and I think that that's kind of what's pushed me to like go after things that maybe someone else would have been like, that's just too creative. I want to do it, but I'm too scared to, or whatever the case was,
Exactly.
And so you mentioned the Waxaholics. Tell us about that collective. You started it in 2012, and what would you describe it as?
The Waxaholics would be basically a group of DJs who just enjoy vinyl and want to spin vinyl. The art of it, the art of collecting and playing out. Really, the idea of Wax came from me just wanting to play my vinyl again and looking for something different in Houston at the time. There was like a lot of this. Waxaholics was almost a child of rebellion, I would say. Like, there was so much like racism and other things going on in the Houston community and clubs, and I wanted people to be able to have somewhere to go that didn't involve any type of.
Oh, that scared me. That scared the crap
out
of me.
I know. That's
What's
scary.
that?
I have no idea.
Do you hear that?
Yeah, I know. I was like, what?
Do you hear that?
I have no idea why it's doing that.
Is that you?
No.
Ooh, my heart. 1 second.
I know. I was like, what happened?
That's so weird.
Whose phone is connected?
I don't know. Ooh,
Oh,
that scared me.
Man, that
I
scared
was
me
like,
too.
I felt my soul come out of me.
I'm
Sorry,
so
y'all.
sorry,
We had a technical slip up. Okay.
Oh man, yeah. I was like, hold on.
I was so into the. I was like, is that you?
No, I was like, how would I be? I was like, how is that in my
The Bluetooth.
Oh man.
So the Waxaholics, you were telling me that it came from you wanting to just have a place of like unity. You know?
A community for hip hop heads. So music was different in 2011, 12, like,
In what way though?
It was just evolving into just getting away from the elements of like hip hop that I enjoy, you know, and so I wanted to get back to that. But long story short, I mean, I was like, okay, I need to create this. If I want it, I'm gonna have to make
Make
it
a space
because
for it. Yeah.
yeah, because I wasn't getting the opportunity to do that in the other places that I was, because you know the promoters and other DJs, you know, and I'm like, man, I can't play the music I want to play. You know, so I'm like,
But because you felt like they had like a hierarchy wherever they wanted to play, or because like the crowd they wanted to cater to,
the crowd,
or just like
yeah.
Like say what you
So
say what it is.
So okay, so like you have, you know, promoters that want their party to be a certain way. Then you have, you know, DJs who are maybe not necessarily going to DJ the way that you play.
Okay.
So I figured that if I'm going to do this, let me do it my way. Because when I was doing my parties when I was younger, that's what I did. I was, you know, catering to my liking and my people. And so I'm like, well, why not just do that again? So people know what it is. So here it is, Waxaholics, Hip Hop Thursdays. This is what we're doing. Now, I didn't only play hip hop, but I was only playing vinyl. And there's only certain music that's on vinyl.
Yeah.
Some of the newer stuff, you could find it, but not as, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't as readily available and everywhere the way the older stuff was.
And I think too, like because of like digital technology now,
Right.
artists are like more apprehensive to really release something on vinyl or like release a CD, even though that's also becoming
Right.
a way for them to make revenue.
Exactly.
Right now, like you've seen them go away from it, and now they're kind of coming back to it. Too.
Yeah, it's come back like a lot. Like vinyl is everywhere, like how it used to be. Not as much, but a lot more.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think there was a gap and then it came back?
Just the nostalgic feeling of vinyl. To be honest, I always just say it's just the coolness of having something physical in your hand that
it's
you
like
can
books.
play. It right. Like I never really got into the whole Kindle thing. I'm still the person that's gonna buy a book. I just want to literally flip the page. I want to literally flip vinyl over and play the other side.
Yeah.
Like I want to look at the packaging. You know, if music means nothing to me, then I won't buy it on vinyl. But like, you know, I can get this download MP3, whatever. But I think, I promise you, I live my day every day like there's no internet. I'm like, if the internet went away today, what would I have? And it would be, you know, my walls of vinyl, and that's it. You know, so, you know, if you don't have your phone, if a lot of people lose their phone, they don't have nothing. You have no music. You lost your laptop. If we have no internet, everything is gone.
Yeah.
People don't even download music like that anymore. They just stream everything. So if you lose that ability, even now iTunes is taken away where you even buy stuff. You know, you're just kind of almost just borrowing it. You don't even own anything anymore. So to me, I don't ever want to get to that point. Even my friend was two DJs over the last week trying to convince me to use Tidal to DJ. And they're like, oh, you don't have to download the songs. It's just right there on the internet. And then you don't have to take up space. And I was like, well, what's the fun in that? Like, even if I have a million songs that I never use, I don't care if I don't use them, but at least I have it. You know how many times I've been searching for something, they're like, oh, you have that? I'm like, oh, no, I don't have it. But I have it. I've never played it, but I just have it just in case. And, then, you know, I could write off, you know, music on my taxes. I don't care, you know, like, but this is the way a DJ is supposed to be. Like, you download music and you have it ready just in case. Like, there's no easier way to do this. Like,
so when I saw you the other night that you were
Right.
at the Trace,
yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I asked you, I'm like, do you have like a list or you know, of songs that you play, like a playlist that you think about? And you were like, no, I just go based off of feeling.
Right.
And I had to sit there because honestly, sometimes like even vinyl can be like a foreign concept. Like you literally have a record that has all of these songs. You as the DJ are literally flipping through whatever you brought that night with you to play. And so you went like from Anita Baker to Justin Timberlake to I think you might have played Erica that night. Like you were just all over the place. I don't know if you did, but I think you and I remember thinking like, how does he know? How does he remember what songs he's gonna play? And we were like, nah, it's just off a feeling.
Right.
And so, you know, being that the Waxaholics is your collective, where you have all of these other DJs who also are on vinyl, I started to think about just like that purist mentality of like really going back to like the original times. And I think sometimes too, the farther and the crazier technology like takes us away, the more we crave to just go back home or go back.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
At least I do.
I do too. Yes. Like I don't have Siri connected on my phone. I don't have face recognition. I don't have. I have social media because I have to because I'm a journalist. But up until 2014, I didn't even have Facebook. Like because I just didn't want to. Because now I go to restaurants or I go to places and I just look at couples or at people and they're just on their phone, you know? And I'm just like, well, like I want to talk, you know? And
that drives me crazy.
I do stories and I do stuff like that. We have to for our careers. But if I didn't have to, I wouldn't put my business out on social media. I don't want to be famous. I think we talked about this.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you with that whole phone thing. The constant need to, you know, of course for me, and us in the entertainment world, we're only as good as our last post.
Same as journalists, you're only as good as your last story.
Yeah, you know, so like my last party, whatever, last song I played, you know, people only remember that. So we have to be connected for that reason. I definitely disconnect as much as I can, and I've learned how to do my own marketing and, you know, do things my way. So a lot of people will ask me to help them with certain things. And the first thing I will say is, hey, let me tell you, I'm not the guy who's going to be flooding anybody's inbox with a bunch of flyers and, hey, come to this is the best party ever, the best Sunday brunch in Houston. I'll never say that. I'm going to be like, hey, man, I'm going to DJ. I'm going to play some songs. We got food. Come if you want. That's what I normally say. I don't say anything more difficult than that. Like
good music and food.
That's it. No caps, no exclamation points, no bottle girls running around, nothing like that. Like we're very basic. Do you want to have a good time?
I think that's how you attract people though, with the vibe. You know, like when you are on that same wavelength with people. And I think that's why I found you, because there's like this no like nonsense, no bullshit approach where I even told you like I just really like the sense of just community. Even watching you DJ that other night, it almost felt like all of these people at different tables or whatever, but like everybody was just having a good time, and it almost sets like a blanket vibe for that night, you know, like where everybody's just kind of like into the same thing, you know, like in the same music. Someone from one table to the other one is like, yeah, and just, you know what I mean? And it just sets the tone. Yeah, it sets the tone.
I think we have more of that outside of Houston. So I want that here. That's why I work on trying to build that. That's why I've been at Trez almost a year now, trying to make it a loungy type of place to be. Miami and LA and New York, Chicago, they have a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, we do.
Dallas, they have like these loungy places where people just relax and enjoy the music, and they're not really coming and being like, yo, DJ, play this song or play that song. They're like, man, no, we just go here to just chill. I feel like the vibes, like, these other cities been having that for a long time, and we just been trying to find it.
Well, y'all could have fooled me. For real.
Well, just
I
just
haven't
creating
that much, so
it. Right. I mean, I love Houston a lot, but I know what we are and what we're not. And so, I'm picky about where I am and what I choose to be a part of. And Alley Cat, Lucille's, Fox Hollow, 5015, some of these places that I've been involved in, like I try to really set a tone of what I want those places to be with the music, with the people. Trez, I'm there like 3 times a week, and you might come in and it'll just be something different every time. But the lighting, the food, the service, the music, all of that's really important in like making a mood. Yesterday I heard these girls come in and they sat right by the DJ booth, and they were just talking. They're like, and she's like, "Girl, I love this place." She's like, "We gotta start coming back here." She's like, "I love the vibe here." And I'm just sitting there DJing, and I'm like, man, like I love to hear that. Like, I don't know those girls from anybody, but that's their first time being here, and they're just sitting there enjoying themselves, even with the loudness of the music. Like normally I want to like turn it up crazy, but at Trez I try to keep it like at a tone where people can still hear it, but they can still talk and kind of just enjoy themselves.
I think too the DJ has a big responsibility for like setting the ambiance of like what the night is gonna be, And so before we talk about like how you maintain yourself in Zen mode, like in the public eye, I want to talk about how you're Houston rapper Toby's official DJ, and I know that partnership started because he came to you for a mixtape, right? So can you tell me that story?
Yeah, we actually started. He was doing this thing called it was a dope art show, and he asked me to help him with that. He was like, "Hey man, can you be our DJ and play music?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." Normally it would be after brunch. I was like, "Man, look, I'm probably gonna be drunk when I get there, but I'll do it." So. The Sundays would just Sundays would just be wild, I'm like, but I'll come, so anyway, so I would come and, I would do the show with them, and then eventually he's like, "Man, look, I'm about to start, really hard on this music thing." So, one thing led to another, Good Twisted Sundays, Volume 1, Volume 2, and then his official album, Toby from the SWAT. And then, the rest is kind of just history, originals, more originals, and we went on tour. But, Toby was able to take his ability to be very intentional about what he wanted, and he liked consistency about me, and
he blew up based off of consistency.
Yeah, that definitely, and like he's more consistent than anybody that I've ever met. Very, very sure about what it is that he wants for himself, and his family. So it was easy to work with him and, just kind of sit back and, he asked my opinion of things. I would give it to him. We have our own little, sayings of how we do stuff, which is just our little thing. But, he was able to, put me on my first tour, which at 40 years old, I never thought I would be on tour. I was like, man, these days are over, I'm never going to do any of that stuff. And, bam, lo and behold, next thing you know, 35 plus cities, and, we're touring and doing some amazing things, stuff that I never saw in my DJ career, so that's a part of it that I never foresaw, that I didn't really even like speak into existence, but being the best version of myself every day, and like putting my all into Waxaholics, and putting my all into being a DJ, and for, him to come at me and say, "Hey man, look, let's start." We literally started from ground zero to build up to him. I had more followers than him before he started. Now he's at like 1 million and something followers.
He's done such a great job at like what his message is, and I actually saw him in Miami.
Oh, nice.
I did, and it was a great show. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But you weren't there. It was somebody else. At least I don't think it was you.
Was it the tour? Yeah,
at the ground?
Yeah, of course.
That was you?
Yeah.
No way, that was you?
Yeah,
Or Spaces?
Yeah,
Stop
yeah,
it.
that was me.
You?
Yeah, that was me.
That's so
Mhm.
crazy. Who would
Yeah.
have thought that I was in the
Yeah,
crowd and
I
a
specifically
few
remember
years later I
that.
would have been interviewing you?
Yeah, because my boy lives right. Those high rises just maybe a block away.
You were wearing a fitted
Yeah.
that night.
Mhm.
That's why I don't remember your face.
Oh, yeah, I was always wearing a fitted
A
on
fitted.
tour. Yeah.
Look at that. And you
Yeah.
were very talky on the mic too.
Yeah, I was.
Like high pitch.
Yeah, I know that's weird, but probably so. On tour, I had to be a different person. Like,
That's so crazy.
yeah,
Look at that
yeah,
full circle
yeah. That was
moment.
me. Oh yeah,
Okay,
that
got
was
it.
me. Yeah, that was an amazing space. I remember also that was the day we got we had made some specialized jackets, and
You know,
and they got delivered there.
That night the crowd was like at one point like the crowd started talking to him back.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
he was like, this is a lot of interaction for you. Like,
Yes.
he wasn't used to it, but he
Yeah.
was like going with it. And I had just found out about his music like maybe a week or two prior, and then the tickets went on sale and I was able to get one. And it was such a great night.
Wow.
And I remember there was a gentleman there who had taken his son.
Mhm.
So he had the whole crowd sing his son happy birthday. The little boy must have been like 8 years old. Do you remember that?
Yes,
It was
I
such
do.
a
Oh
beautiful
my
night.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miami was dope. We were nervous because we were like, man,
Who's gonna come?
yeah, we're like, how's Miami gonna be? Like, Miami's not like, we just see it as
Yeah,
a
like the
different city.
underground hip hop scene, like
Right.
you really gotta be in
But
it.
it was the same. It was good.
great.
It was perfect, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so much fun.
And he brought out his wife who was pregnant at the
Yeah,
time, and
Fat.
I love that vibe.
Shout out
of
to
his,
Fat.
yeah,
Mhm.
I love her style.
That's
and
awesome.
just-
I didn't know. I had
didn't
no
know
idea.
either. I
Okay.
thought it was somebody else, and I'm here saying it wasn't true. I guess.
Oh yeah, it was me. Yeah.
I couldn't tell it was you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I might have been a little heavier then too, so
I
that
noticed
might
that.
be it.
You did a
Yeah.
lifestyle change, huh? I
Yeah.
thought you were vegan, but then I saw that you were eating meat.
No, yeah, I'm not completely vegan. I do practice a lot
You
of.
try to be plant based as much as possible.
Yeah, as much as possible. Actually, fruit based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The night that I saw you, when I first met you last week,
Yeah.
what you ordered off the menu, I saw it come out because I also I'm mostly plant based as much
Right.
as I can be, and I'm like a big fruit person, and so you ordered something, and I remember the server brought it out, and I was like, what's that? I didn't see that on the menu. And she's like, oh, that's for Rican. I was like, oh, damn.
The fruit platter.
It was fruit, and I was like, I don't have that confianza to ask him if I could pick off his plate. But I totally would have, because I'm just that type of person.
Yeah, they know. They'll cut up fruit and stuff for me.
I was like, that's not on the menu, because I would have definitely got that.
Right. The thing about it with the fruit, especially, is like, I eat a lot of fruit, so
Me too.
like the first times when I was like, "Hey, bring me some fruit," and they just brought me a little bit, and I was like, "No, fill
You need to
this
eat
like
that.
a bunch of fruit."
Where do you get your fruit from out here?
I buy from from Sprouts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like
I go
a
to Aldi.
farmer's market.
Oh, well, you got that.
Yeah. There's probably, I don't know if there's a Sprouts around here, but
I'll look it up though, because
Yeah.
now I'm still like familiarizing myself.
yeah.
maybe
Sprouts
not.
is good.
Yeah, I gotta get into it.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to bring it back to like being zen and like kind of like going back to that place of just centering yourself. I saw that
Right.
you were like doing martial arts as well. Is it Tai Chi?
Qigong.
Okay.
Yes.
And I feel like you know, I see that you ride your bike and you kind of do a lot of things to like just get back to yourself. So
Right.
how do you get back to zen? Like, what are you practicing now? What's that space that you're going into?
I started to realize how I needed to just bring myself down. If you just go, you're never able really to accomplish things. So especially being on tour, we had to learn how to, like, in 35 days to do 20 something cities and 20 something shows, and kind of be able to come up and then bring yourself back down. But I noticed that, breathing, when I started meditating, how much that really helped me kind of just center myself.
I know about breathe. Like, I feel like that's really real. I had like a moment the other day where I was feeling like really emotional and kind of like almost on the verge of tears, and I was in a place where I couldn't release. And I remember reading something that if you can control your breathing, you can control your life.
Oh man, absolutely. Breathing is like everything. Like breathing is like eating, and that control. If you can control those things, you can do anything. Because if you can sit here with a plate of tacos or fried chicken and just look at it and it doesn't bother you, then that's when you're reaching higher levels of zen.
Yeah.
Of being able to control your thoughts and emotions. It's you have things that you struggle with daily, and so you have to find you. I used to be this person that would call everybody to try to figure out my problems, but then I realized that the only person that could figure out my problems is me.
Mm-hmm.
So I started taking control of it and doing those daily affirmations with myself, having my time to meditate, my time to read, breathe, exercise, work out, do qigong, and just practice quiet time. This book I was reading from Deepak Chopra, he talks about not speaking for weeks at a time, and just spending time with yourself, just in the quiet.
I was just about to bring up Deepak.
Yeah, and that's like something that really helped me a lot.
I know I'm gonna get along with someone if I could be in the car with them and we don't have to talk.
Right.
Like I don't want to call it a test because it's not like a test, but those are small like cues for me that I know if I could be around someone's energy,
For sure.
if I could just chill with them,
right,
and not have to say shit.
Say nothing. Yeah. Hey, look, man. Look, I've definitely been around some people who I know can't be like that. Like, it's like you just want to grab them and just be like, yo, just be quiet. Just sit down and just chill.
Cálmate.
Yes, man. I say that all the time. Like, just calm down before I calm you down.
I was just gonna say,
yes,
cálmate,
calmo. Yes, like please.
Yeah.
But like that is my biggest thing, and I have struggled with that with a lot of people around me, relationships. People who don't know how to be quiet. I love talking, don't get me wrong.
I do too,
but there's just a time and a place for everything. And, it's like, come on, man, know when to talk, when to speak, when not to speak, know how to speak to people, know when you're supposed to be listening and not interrupting people, and giving people space to get their thoughts off if they need to. Because if they feel like they can't talk to you or get out what they need, they'll never be comfortable with you. So yeah, I've learned a lot about this in the last 3-4 years.
Deepak has this for those of you out there who want to get into meditation, he has an app called Chopra now that he just recently rebranded, but there's a free 21-day meditation that I'm actually gonna start doing. And for like, if you want to get into meditation, that is it's a tool, it's a resource. He doesn't do them all the time, but he does release them every couple of months here and there.
Right.
He did one with DJ Big, which I thought was really cool to get people meditating in Spanish. So if you want to get into meditation, check out Chopra's 21-day free meditation.
Yeah, I actually, man, if you've never meditated, you could try guided meditations. And of course, I'm hip hop head. I actually use this meditation as OT, but it's hold on, because I can tell you really quick because it's
well, that's
because I use it every day.
And you said it has 6 tracks right now.
Yeah, it's 6 tracks, and
the Chopra one, he releases like 4 of them at a time. And then as you start catching up to them, because sometimes people miss and stuff, so I made it intentional.
So it's called Guided Explorations with the RZA.
Guided Exploration?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's it's 6 tracks. So and I put that on first thing sometimes when I wake up, and I'll take a shower, put it on. So you'll start it, and it'll start telling you. He starts off with the intro. And then he goes into this thing called Kill the Noise. And he's kind of of talking to you about how to get rid of all the negativity. And then he moves into fanning your flames. Talks about being that you bigging up yourself, you know, making yourself to be something what you're supposed to be, how you believe in yourself. Bite or stop barking, you know, basically, right? Yep. Self-explanatory. Yep. And then it says, if not you, then who, you know, and then making moves. So by the time I go through that, I'll take a shower, I'll do my meditation, then I'll start this. And then I'll get to the point where he's talking about walking outside. Then I'll go grab my dog and we'll go walk, and then I'll finish it up. I think it's almost like an hour or so.
That's really cool. I think that
but yeah, it's amazing.
We need that. Like, you need, like, everybody needs that space. We're almost up on time, but I did want to bring up something you tweeted the other day, and you said, "Give your all, and you'll never have regrets." What were you talking about when you tweeted that?
You know, I'm not.
I feel like I've given my all sometimes. I was like, I really had to think about it. I'm like, really, no regrets, not one.
Oh yeah, I don't have any. I have no regrets. You know, we're all on the internet. They're always talking about, oh man, would you rather this or would you rather go back? I saw something the other day that said, would you want $10 million or would you be able to? Or would you want to go back and fix all your mistakes? And so I'm like, man, give me 10 million. Yeah. Like, I'm not going back to fix nothing, because you never know what's gonna be in store after. You've made your decisions. You know, your bed is here. You're lying in it every day, right? We make our bed. This is what we are presenting for ourselves. You know, we cannot change the past. You can change the future, though. So every day, if you are living, you know, your best self and presenting your best self and doing the best that you can every day, then you have nothing. Like Deepak always talks about giving your all today, not tomorrow. And you know, Buddhism or Buddha talks about living for today and not worrying about tomorrow. That is like the hugest thing for people, like putting things off. And I still do it, don't get me wrong, but do I regret anything that I've done? You know, I was very much a late bloomer, lost my job, started my business. I would always be like, man, I wish I knew these things when I was younger. But who knows? If I would have, imagine if I would have, you know, I don't know, went on tour when I was 22. You know, I got a friend that was 21, you know, shooting music videos for Trey Songz and like Usher and like doing amazing things at a young age. And, you know, he's always like, man, I wish I was doing that now, because he was making hundreds of $1,000s and he felt like he just blew it all back then because he didn't have, you know, the know-how.
Yeah.
But he was still living in the moment, though, you know, so there's no way that you should be doing things and then regretting them. Like, just do it to the fullest and think about it. You know, we don't think about what we're actually doing in the now enough. You know, we're just tweeting things, posting things, and not really fully thinking about it. You know what I mean? But if you fully think about it, you'll be okay.
Yeah. And
in my opinion.
No, I mean, there's a lot of things that you tweet, and I'm like, I understand that, because even what you just said, I remember feeling that I literally used the same words, I'm a late bloomer, when it came to my journalism career.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking, if I was interviewing people when I was fresh out of college, what life experience, what respect could I have brought to the table? To any elders or anybody else, like, my approach would have been different, my interviews would have been different. But now the way I interview people is so much different because I've lived so much. And I started, you know, older, quote unquote, in my career, but I just have so much calle, like, I have so much life in me that when I come to people, I'm just on, like, it's a woman talking to you with all these experiences of life, and I don't know everything, but I'm also not just like someone who's fresh out of college trying to like cut my teeth, and you know, and I'm still, you know, I have my lessons. I always think about things that I could do better, regrets, you know, trying to get over some regrets, shame and guilt, you know, part of life. But I'm just grateful for the journey to, you know, to even be able to do what I got to do.
Absolutely.
And so, how can people stay in touch with you? Tell us about these events that you were doing, and how they can follow your work and your events, DJ stuff.
Oh,
merch, etc.
Right now they can get me at Trez Art Bar, Tuesdays from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., Fridays from 8 p.m. to midnight, and Sunday brunch every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Or you can follow me Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at DJ Big Reeks or at the Waxaholics. Yeah.
And you also have your mixes on Mixcloud.
Oh yeah, Mixcloud, SoundCloud. I haven't uploaded anything in a while.
Well, mix number 4 is really good, so I
recommend. Thank you so much. I need to get back to it. I need to stop playing around. I just you know, I can't. You know, I'm a DJ, so I have to be inspired by other people's work. And I just hadn't been that inspired lately, but it'll come back.
Yeah, it gets there eventually, or maybe sometimes you just gotta experiment with making your own work.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. What I've been doing though is going back though. So instead of like really fooling with new music, I just been going back to old stuff.
It's like what we said. You end up going back home at one point or another.
I do it all the time. Like what brought me here? Like I used to be this SoundCloud, YouTube buff. Like, but music. The one thing I will say, like, your next door neighbor could have a YouTube hit right now that has 1 million views, and people are like, "Oh no, you don't got that new window ceiling," and I'm like, "No, I don't. Like, I don't even know this kid. A little young light bulb or something." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know what that is, man." But that's how easy it is to put out music now. And so all of a sudden, this kid's top whatever. He has no album, has no nothing, just YouTube hits. And to keep up with all of it that's happening, who was I just looking at? There's that Spot 'em Got 'em dude that I forget the name of the song, but right, and people hop on it and remixes and all this stuff, but it's not really officially an album or whatever. It's just real random stuff.
Sometimes you as the DJ have to stay up to date with things that are irrelevant to you, even if you don't care about them, just because
even if you don't care. But they're just coming and going so fast, and sometimes it's not even worth it. This song, by the time you go to play it, it's gone.
Yeah.
Like people are like, "Oh man," even I don't know, even if you know what's happening, but like Sweetie and whatchamacallit, Quavo broke up, right? And I'm reading comments. I'm a comment reader.
Me too.
And everybody,
That's
I'm
really
like,
where
oh,
it's at.
oh my God, I'm all in the comments. And people are like, oh, they're like, Quavo and what's the hell's the name of their group?
Offset.
No.
Cardi's
No.
The other one?
The name Migos.
Oh.
They're like, Migos is sold 2019. I'm like, what? I'm like, that was like literally
last
2 years ago.
We
I'm
skipped
like,
2020, so that was basically
but I'm
last
like,
year.
but y'all are like, but that's how people, that's how the internet is. They're like, oh, that was so, everything's just so fast. I'm like, damn, y'all just were in love with the Migos, and now Migos ain't nothing. Now it's whoever, Lil Baby, the Baby, Spot 'em Got 'em, whoever it is, like right now, what I mean? And it'll be somebody else, people are like, oh, Sweetie was carrying him around anyway, he ain't worth nothing. I was like, really? Like, y'all are now owing Quavo's entire career to Sweetie.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Honestly,
fine.
with music and with, I like to read comments too, because I kind of like to read the room. But I also am one of those people that I read these things because I also need to just be up to date.
Just to know.
And I also like get it, like sometimes social commentary and just things, or you know how it is, like social currency, like I said earlier, of the comments. And I'm a comment reader too. Like I'll be letting the video play and go straight to the comments, but sometimes it's just smoke and mirrors with people. A lot of like toxic like stuff that is being reinforced, and I'm just like, you know what? I can only take a little bit of this, what I need to get, and then I'm off it, because I can't let that pollute me.
No.
But anyway, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Man,
It's
thank
been
you.
such a good conversation.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate you having me. Man, welcome to Houston.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck to everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have to introduce you to
From
some more
Hialeah
people.
to Houston.
Wow, that's crazy.
Thank you all
I
so
love
much.
it. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you hear, then share an episode with your friends. Support Meet the Mondays. Hit us up for sponsorships and ads. Follow us on social media at Meet the Mondays. I'm your host at Call Her Christian on IG, Cristian Portilla. And just subscribe on Apple Podcast, Spotify. Leave us a review, a 5-star one if you will. And thank you all so much.
5 stars always.